So as we all know, newly crowned WBO middleweight champion Andy Lee is set to defend his title against Peter Quillin, the man who recently relinquished the same title just a few months ago. Bizarre situation. But anyway, I was having a conversation in my Facebook boxing group, Hatman Boxing, with a couple people about this fight a few weeks ago. And they seem to be of the opinion that Andy Lee's going to win this fight and he's going to win it by knockout. I completely disagree. I actually think this is going to be a fairly comfortable victory for Peter Quillin. I think he will either beat Andy Lee on points or stop him late. And it's not that I think that Peter Quillin is anything special. He's not. I just don't think you have to be anything special to beat Andy Lee. And that's no disrespect. I think Andy Lee is an overachiever in the sport of boxing. I think he's gone as far as he's ever going to go. That's just my opinion. Now, people are impressed by the fact that Andy Lee knocked out Jackson and then he knocked out Korobov in his last two fights. But in both those fights, he was behind at the time when he got the knockout. In fact, against Jackson, he was taking a beating. He'd been knocked down in that fight and he was on the verge of being stopped himself when he came out with that big right hook to knock Jackson out. Okay, so bear that in mind. And that's at light middleweight, people. Jackson, at light middleweight, was on the verge of stopping Andy Lee pretty early in that fight. Then he fought Korobov. And again, he was getting soundly outboxed. He was behind in the fight. Then he came out with a right hook to turn it around and stop Korobov. I think in the Jackson fight, Jackson just didn't respect Andy Lee, didn't respect his punching power, and he got too happy. He thought that he was going to knock Andy Lee out, and he walked on to something. And with Korobov, Korobov was an extremely experienced amateur. I believe he beat Kovalev in the amateurs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was certainly a very, very experienced, high-level amateur. And I just think he didn't respect Andy Lee again. You know, he thought he's got all this experience and stuff like that, and Andy Lee's not going to be able to catch him. But Andy Lee did catch him. But the disturbing thing for me was the interview after the Andy Lee Korobov fight, where basically Adam Booth admitted that their whole strategy for that fight was to win by a one-punch knockout, that they were just looking for one punch. That's basically what Adam Booth said, because he said we were prepared and we knew that we were going to have to give away the early rounds, but we'd eventually catch him with the right hook. And he, you know, explained how he trained Andy Lee to throw this right hook in a particular way to be able to catch him. So he's admitting that they were looking for one punch. It's a one-punch knockout strategy. That is a very, very flimsy and risky strategy for any fight, if ever there was one. This is what you actually hear trainers telling their fighters not to do in between rounds when they're in the corner. They usually tell them, stop looking for one punch, use your jab, set the shots up this way, don't force the knockout, it will come naturally. This is what trainers normally tell their fighters. And Adam Booth is actually telling Andy Lee the opposite, at least according to his post-fight interviews, that they were actually looking for the one-punch knockout. Very risky strategy, all right? Now, given the fact that he has knocked both his last two opponents out or stopped them with one punch, don't you think that Peter Quillin's going to be watching out for that? He obviously is. He's not an idiot. All right. He's going to be watching out for that punch. He's going to be thinking, I'm not going to make the same mistake as these two guys. OK, I'm going to make sure that I take that right hook away from Andy Lee. And if you take the right hook away from Andy Lee, what do you have? You've basically got a British level fighter, people. Basically, maybe borderline European level, but pretty much British level fighter. That's what you got in Andy Lee. No disrespect, but that's what you got. He's not particularly fast. His boxing skills are not great. Doesn't have a great defense. He's not even that physically strong compared to a lot of the other middleweights out there. So all the advantages I see, I mean, other than his height, he is tall, but I don't think his height is really going to come into play against Peter Quillin. I think Peter Quillin will outbox Andy Lee from the outside. He's got quicker hands. I think, you know, not that Peter Quillin is a defensive genius, but I think he does have a better defense than Andy Lee. He's got better footwork. I think he's got a better jab. I don't know, man. I don't see Andy Lee winning this fight. You know, if you guys think it's more competitive than me, then by all means, let me know why in the comment section below. But I just see Peter Quillin winning this fight. And I don't think that one-punch knockout strategy, which did work for him in his last two fights, I don't think it's going to work against Quillin. I think Quillin's going to prepare for that. And in every other aspect, Quillin's a better fighter. And Quillin can punch as well, by the way, people. Okay, he might not be a devastating knockout, you know, one-punch knockout guy, But Quillin can punch, and he can definitely hurt Andy Lee if he tags him. So, yeah, I only see this fight going one way, and that is a victory for Peter Quillin. So, drop your comments below. Let me know how you feel, people. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.